Hello, everyone. I'm Briant Thomas Smith. You might recognize me as Zach Penny's ex-boyfriend slash husband from the Big Bang Theory for 9 seasons. Good to be here on Spoiler Country.
Hello, listeners of Spoiler Country. Today on the show, we have a very special guest, Mr. Briant Thomas Smith. How's it going, sir?
Hello, what's up, Jeff? Good to be here, man.
It's a definite pleasure to have you. I'm a big fan of yours. As most people who watch TV know, you as Zach from Big Bang Theory, that's where I first heard of you, and I've been a big fan of yours ever since.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, the Big Bang Theory was definitely probably the coolest job, one of the coolest jobs I've ever had. A lot of fun playing Zach on that show for sure.
Yeah, me and my wife have been binging it for maybe the third or fourth time for the last few weeks, and I think we're actually on the final 10 episodes of season 12, and it's a little troublesome because it's almost over. But at the same time, you know, we'll probably end up binging again another month or two.
Yeah, it's crazy. That show holds up because it's just so fun, and the writers are so great at throwing so many jokes into each episode that you could just rewatch episode after episode. And
yeah, it's kind of funny. It's a lot of people give credit to the Marvel movies for kind of making geek culture popular, but I'm thinking it actually started with Big Bang Theory. They were the first show to really mainstream geek culture, and then people started clutching onto it.
Right, absolutely. They definitely put the geeks on the maps. They were catering to a specific audience that loved all these things that some people don't think are cool, and it found its audience. And there's a lot of people that really enjoy all the stuff that they cover and the science and all the topics for the Big Bang Theory that they cover. So it's pretty cool.
Now, do you watch the Big Bang Theory, or is it hard when you're starring the episode to watch it as a fan?
I love watching the Big Bang Theory. Now, I didn't watch the Big Bang Theory before I had my audition for Zach. I had never seen the show. I had known what the show was. I had seen commercials and trailers for it, but I had never seen it. And I watched some YouTube clips. It was season 3, so, you know, unless you were, I think, had TiVo or something to record shows, but there were some YouTube clips of the show. I was able to get the tone, and the multi-camera comedy is a different type of comedy than single camera comedies. There's not too many of them left, but the Big Bang Theory, turned into the longest running. It has the most episodes for a live audience multi-camera sitcom in history.
Oh, wow. That's a cool fact.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
So where did your love of acting originate? What is the Arden story of Briant Thomas Smith?
Great. Okay. So I was in high school back in the late 90s, to date myself. Let's go mid 90s, actually. I was playing basketball and all kinds of sports, and I was really into basketball. And then when basketball was over, I auditioned for the spring play. I was like, there's nothing to do. There's no more practices. And I just loved it. I loved being on stage. I was taking theater classes my senior year. I had a video camera, and I was making little home movies with my buddies for like a book report. I would do like a fake talk show and interview the characters from the book. And
oh, that's awesome.
I was super into making my own stuff. And so then when I went to college at Central Missouri in Missouri there, I was a theater minor and film broadcast major. So I was taking a lot of production classes. And then when I started doing plays in college, I was like, I really, really like acting more than making movies. And I just said, I'm moving to LA and I'm going to give this acting a shot. And it was the summer of 2000, and I moved out here. I knew one person. I stayed on his couch for about 6 months until he let me move into his bedroom. 2 grown men sharing a room for about a year. It was awesome. But I dove into some acting classes, and that's when I really, really, really started loving acting, was taking classes out here and driving home from class being like, oh, I love this. This is so fun. This is so cool. I can't wait. It's going to happen so soon. And it was just like, it took me 5 years to even get a manager or an agent. I mean, it was a big time awakening with how many people are out here doing this. But
so while you were attending Central Missouri State University, I read that you were a brother at Sigma Phi Epsilon fraternity, which is a very well-known fraternity in this country.
Yeah.
So how did that happen? How did you get a part of it? What was that like? And also did that help you as pursue your career in acting, or was that a distraction from getting a career in acting?
You know what? I think it might have helped me because, I joined a fraternity, the Sig Eps, in my freshman year, and I met some of my best friends there, and it really made college fun. I joined because I loved intramural sports, and they had a really good intramural sports program, and we were just competing in everything. And so that's kind of why I got into the program. But when I started getting into theater, they would show up to all my plays. I mean,
oh, wow.
There's 30, 40 brothers there, like, cheering. And when I came on the stage, they would cheer. It was kind of ridiculous. And then all these production classes that I had to make these videos for, I used my fraternity brothers as actors, and a bunch of them were really, really talented. And then I had, when I had plays, I had to learn all these lines for these plays, and there was always a brother around. A couple of them really loved it, and they would run lines with me like for hours. So I would get off book for certain plays that I was doing. So it was cool. And they all thought I was talented, and it kind of boosted my ego. I think that's why I was like, oh, I'm good enough to go to LA, so maybe that's what happened,
That's an amazing level of support there. Like, a fraternity always, like, especially when you watch movies and TV, always has this almost like negative reputation. But what they did for you, that sounds like a huge level of support and such a confidence boost to perform on stage and know you have these 40 people cheering you on, and no matter what happens, these 40 people still are going to root for you.
Yeah, for sure. And what's crazy is it's 20 years later and they're still rooting for me. It's great. It's every time if I'm in a commercial or a TV show, a movie that not a lot of people see, they've seen it. And it's insane how supportive these old friends have still been. Pretty cool.
That's a fantastic story. That is amazing to think that this many years later they're still supporting you, and it must be pretty cool to be. You're now Briant Thomas Smith, the one that they're going to put on their, former. I guess, are you former brother, or are you always a brother of?
I don't know how it works. I think we're brothers for life. I don't know. Yeah.
So you're now at the point where when they say these were the former member, or these are the current members of our fraternity, Briant Thomas Smith is now part of it. It must be nice to have reached that level that you're probably one of the people now that they count towards as promotion for their fraternity.
Maybe they do. I don't know if I'm that famous for them to do that, but even Central Missouri has been really kind, and they've done a couple alumni write-ups for me in some magazines and stuff, because there's a few people there that have followed my career as well, and pretty proud of the fact that I'm from a small school in Missouri.
And I mean, I'm sure your brothers supported your move to LA. What did your parents think when you were like, I'm going to move all the way down to LA. I'm going to take this crack at acting? Were they thinking, good job, Brian? Or were they thinking, son of a bitch?
No, I think my parents are pretty cool like that. They haven't really guided any of my siblings in a, like, this is what you should do. This kind of like up to us situation. And I did kind of like talk to them about maybe going to film school, because I did have a video camera in high school and I was making these little movies and productions, and I did have a degree in film and broadcasting. So I kind of was like, maybe I'll come out and do film school. I just definitely want to move out there for sure. I definitely didn't sell them on like, I'm going out there to be an actor, even though they still they wouldn't have cared. I think they would support me no matter what. So that was always nice to have, and they have still supported me. So it's great.
So you're part of a pretty big family. You have, 4 siblings?
Yeah, I got 3 brothers and a sister.
So did you grow up then having to in a competitive environment that kind of helped you with acting?
I think when you're 4 out of 5, everyone forgets about you. I don't know.
4 out of 5.
Right? You're not the oldest that has it the hardest. You're not the baby of the family that has it the easiest. And you're not the middle. Like, I was just like the second to last. They've kind of been there, done that, raising all the kids. So I think I was finding myself entertaining myself a lot and playing and having this imagination. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it has anything to do with the order and how many kids, but
like the fourth Alien movie, no one quite remembers what was in it, but they know the first 2 are really important. The third one, They kind of lost track. The fourth one, they're like, well, let it do its thing. It's out there.
Totally.
That's pretty funny. So when you went to Central Missouri University and you said you studied film, which is, I guess, I assume it's different than going for theater. How did learning film and the ins and outs of the profession help you as an actor now?
Yeah, that's a great question, because because it isn't the film broadcast, the film classes. You're learning how to tell a story, and you're learning editing and things like that. Theater, man, I learned a little bit about theater in college, but when I moved out to LA and started taking acting classes here, that's when I was like, oh, okay. I had some really great teachers out here that really taught me a lot. And there was also a lot of really talented actors in my classes that you got to witness and see and be like, I'm a part of this community here. In college, I learned how to shoot stuff, which was really cool. The only problem is that I was in college in like 99, 2000, like those years were my big senior years production wise. And the equipment we learned on, the editing equipment that we learned is like, you would like set your effects to like, just like a wipe or a transition or like a credit if you wanted to put a title on, and then you would render it. And then you would leave the studio and come back in the morning to see if it was finished rendering the effects. It was like, that's the equipment we were learning on. So all that stuff that I learned, that stuff doesn't exist anymore, but I did start a sketch comedy group out here, and we would make fun videos for all of our shows. So I think having a film and broadcast background really helped shoot stuff.
So the sketch group was Exploding Pajamas, correct?
Correct.
So when you're, what kind of group was Exploding Pajamas? You said it was a sketch group. Were you performing on stages, at clubs? What was this like?
Yeah, so man, it was like 2005, maybe. I think my brother and I had just got back from doing The Amazing Race, I remember, and I was like, I want to get my funny actor friends together and start a sketch group. And we were going to do it at some bars that I knew and worked at that we could do it at. But then we brought in some guys like J.W. Walterman and Kyle Roper and Dan Lindsay. These three guys were so talented at writing that we had some like legit funny sketches that were like Saturday Night Live quality that we could keep building on these sketches. And so we were like, we need a theater for sure. So what we did was we rented out theaters, started off with like a 50-person theater up to 100 seats. Anheuser-Busch sponsored us. We had like free beer in a cooler, like in the aisle. And we hid the beer opener underneath one of the seats, and whoever had the beer opener had to get beers for everybody the whole time. It was like you sat in the beer, you're the bartender seat. So we had a lot of fun. We did these sketch videos that people loved, and we did that for 3 or 4 years until we all kind of got busy doing other things. But it was a fun time for sure.
So were you acting the sketch, or were you writing your own?
We were all writing, and we would all get together and come up with ideas, but there were like 3 or 4 guys that wrote most of the sketches. I was kind of probably like helping with jokes and helping write and come up with the ideas, and then maybe write a sketch for the show, but not like most of the writing. There were some other guys that were just really, really good, but I contributed a lot, and I got people to the theater, and we packed the house, and it was a good, everybody kind of brought their own little something to the team.
See, I always wonder about comedy writing. I mean, I couldn't write comedy for life for me. I'm just not that funny, but but the only thing I wonder about comedy writing is that so much of comedy is dependent on timing. So when you're writing comedy, how do you incorporate or kind of guess that this will work if timed just right? Or I mean, how do you know when you have something that is truly funny on paper?
Yeah, that's a great question, because with my experience from The Big Bang Theory, and now I'm working on this new show, United States of Al, which we can get into a little later or whenever. But the writers, like we do from the table read to what we shoot in front of a live audience, which we're not doing that right now, but they see what works, and they have so much experience that they know like this joke is going to get a laugh. So we can't write this joke here because it's going to get swallowed by the laugh, or the actor needs to time it out right. But if the joke doesn't kill at the table read or the run through for the studio, they cross it out. Like today I had, I don't know, two new pages of completely new material as we rehearsed today that wasn't in the read through yesterday, the run through. So I feel like the writers, especially in Los Angeles, if you're or anywhere, if you're writing on a television show, you have some really good experience and you're doing that. I am not there. I have written a pilot for myself that I'm very proud of and I like, and it's not like a sketch or multi-camera comedy though. I think that's the hardest to write for. I think it's those joke heavy material, those projects.
Yeah, that's actually kind of funny that you mentioned the United States of Al. I have an interview next on Monday with Jacob Murray, who I guess he's associate director on the show. And that's when I heard of the show. And it's cool that you're doing it, that you're on it as well. It's like, wow, I'm hearing a lot about the show now.
Yeah, you'll hear a lot about it. It premieres April 1st. Some of the people involved, the executive producers and stuff they were on Big Bang Theory and they liked my Zach character and they wrote a funny role and I got the part and this week I'm working on my second episode. I'll be in episode 6 and episode 9 and then they're shooting 13 this first season. So I might be popping back in before the end of the 13 are shot. I don't know, but love my character on the show. Funnier than Zach, I think. Guy he's so much fun and sweet and just I think he'll fit in well with the group on the show. So we'll see.
So for our listeners, what is your pitch for what United States of Al is?
United States of Al, it's a funny comedy that it actually has a lot of heart to it because it's let's say instead of if Big Bang Theory was kind of about like geek culture, this would be more about maybe let's say military culture. It's two guys that were in the military that come back and one of them is a little bit jaded about coming back home and not being in the war. And, I think he's kind of struggling a little bit. That's Parker Young's character. And then here who plays Al, this is what's great about the show is I didn't even know this program existed. But if you enlisted into the United States military from a different country and you were like an interpreter or something, and you served in the military, you get a visa so you can come live in the United States. And there's a big problem with these visas not really coming through for all these immigrants. And so Al is an immigrant who grew up in Afghanistan and now he's in Ohio and it's kind of a fish out of water. And he's pretty excited about everything here in the United States as his buddy Parker, who was his military buddy, is like over it here and jaded and kind of an unhappy guy. It's funny because he's very dry. And then he lives with his dad and his sister and he has a kid and an ex-wife. And my character dates his ex. I'm the new boyfriend for the ex-wife. So there's a lot of opportunity for jokes and stories, but I guess that was my long pitch.
Well, the interesting thing, like I said, it has to do with war in Afghanistan. So how heavy will it dive into that? I mean, will it be we'll touch on it? Will it be because obviously comedy is, you have got to be careful how deep, I guess, you go into drama and or will it be kind of more lighter, like Big Bang Theory?
Yeah, it's definitely lighter. It's definitely, it's tons of jokes, live audience. There's supposed to be a live audience, but so it's like a lot of energy. It's a lot of, coming in, laughing, fun characters. Dean Norris is in it. He plays the dad. He's so good. He's always a funny, tough guy type of guy. So yeah, I think it's funny. The 2 episodes I did, first one was a lot of military was discussed in it. And there was like a fundraiser, like a charity event that they go to. And then the one I'm in now is a little less. It's more just about the family and about Al adapting to where he lives now. So,
and this is created by Chuck Lorre, who did 2.5 Men and his line, Mom, I guess. His line of shows that he created is immense.
This will be his 5th show on CBS right now. So that's pretty nuts. Yeah, when you have a show like 2.5 Men that goes 10 seasons and Big Bang Theory that went 12 seasons and Mom that's like in that 7th season and yeah, all these shows, he has Be Positive is his new one and then this one are his 2 new ones that will be going. So he's good and he's very hands-on. He's very involved. He gets the table. He's there at the table read and the run-throughs and has notes, and I don't know how he does it for 5 shows.
As an actor, does it help knowing that the person in charge of your show has a track record of basically nothing but success? Does it make life on you easier?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like knowing like I'm in episode 6 and I'm in episode 9 right now, and we're shooting 9 this week, so they've only had 9 done. If it wasn't Chuck Lorre, in the back of my mind, I might think, oh man, I hope this show doesn't get canceled after 3-4 episodes. They won't get to my scene. My episodes will never be aired, and that happens to a lot of shows. A lot of shows, it's if it doesn't hit right off the bat, it's canceled. With this one, it's coming in right after Young Sheldon, so you're going to have that fan base that loves Chuck Lorre shows, and it's so good. The show's funny. I just being on it, it has the same vibe as like, okay, this is well written, good stories. This will last.
How when you're on a show like Big Bang Theory and also United States of Al, how much input do you have into your characters?
Well, you know what? That's a good question because I didn't know much. This is my new character. His name is Freddie, and I did not know much about him except for he's a sweet guy. And I got the pages the night before the table read, and I could see them thinking maybe he's clean cut and wears khaki and polos, and he's kind of more of a goober guy that's just really nice. And I've had this quarantine hair where I've grown out my hair. I haven't shaved. I'm like a bearded guy. And I was like, you know what? This guy needs to be the opposite of Parker Young, the military guy. He's a tough military dude. And I'm like this sweetheart dude. And I'm like, all right, I am going to go in with my hair up in a man bun, which is totally opposite. And this guy wears cardigans and shorts, and he's just kind of a weirdo dude, Yeah. And I heard from one of the producers, Chuck Lorre, after the table read, was like, he has to keep the man bun. And he has to, yeah. So that was my choice. I could have showed up clean shaven and showed up a little more straight laced. And I said, no, this guy makes his own sausages. This guy does magic. This guy, he's a little different. He's a little off. And so I kind of that helped. And then with Zach on the Big Bang Theory, they wrote the jokes. I came in, you get the character. I think they started leaning into, instead of making Zach just like a big idiot, which, that's what his purpose was. His first episode was come in, one day guest star, be a big dumb idiot that Penny now can't date big dumb idiots because she's been hanging out with Leonard so much that she likes Leonard and likes having conversations with a smarter guy. And so she's like, I'm over dating dumb guys. I want to hang out with you, Leonard. That was the end of season 3 finale. And then they're like, he was really funny. Let's bring him back. And so they brought me back. And I think just me, the way I was playing him, kind of naive, and I didn't really pick up on sarcasm or just actually being a nice guy and loving science and the guys. I know they started playing into that part. They were writing it, but I think they liked the way I was playing it. And I think they said, you know what, Zach he's a sweet guy. So let's just keep writing to that where he's not this ex-boyfriend that's threatening and that's like, oh no, it's more like he's one of the guys. And also he was just a joke punching bag. Everybody, especially with Sheldon, it was so funny watching like Sheldon's jokes when he's around Zach are so funny. It's really great. Yeah. So I don't think the actors have too much. The writers they're on it. They're to the capital T and the period and the question marks. They're on the script, but you do bring something from yourself to the character.
Well, and going back to what you were saying about Zach and the Big Bang Theory, the episode Lunar Expectation, when the other guys are bullying Zach, which was a very intelligent, I think, turn for the writers to do that. So to have the nerds be the bullies at this time and see how it feels to be on the other side. And I think that was the first episode where I think it's the second appearance where you get definitely a lot of empathy for Zach. Like Zach, you feel for him, and he feels more like a person than he did in that first appearance. Yeah,
totally. Yeah, the first. So I think you're talking to the third episode I did, which was the Justice League recombination. They do pile on jokes. They do bully me. The first episode, which is the Lunar Exaltation, which is up on the rooftop. But that time when I come over and I'm eating licorice with them and hanging out and talking science, they're just piling on me. And yeah, it was really smart of the writers to be like, this is reverse bullying, you know? Yeah, they're ganging up on me, and it was cool that Penny had my back, and that was my favorite episode by far. I felt like I was part of the team. I got to be Superman in the costume contest, and really, that was like some heavy lifting for me. I was in almost every scene, and as an actor, after shooting that episode with the live audience and everything going nuts for everything I was saying, and I was just like, okay, yeah, I'm ready for a series regular role. When's my show? You know, I'm ready for it. So I've been ready for a while, but that one, that like, you know, you always think you can do it, but that was like the most I've done in a episode. You know, guest stars, you pop in, you can do a couple scenes here, but I was just like a series regular in that episode, and I left with so much confidence in my acting, and I just was like, yes, I got this. And as an actor, that's priceless. That's you go through so many swings in your acting career where you're working a lot and then you're not working, and you're like, oh man, what's going on? Especially early when you have all this experience, you kind of are like, am I good enough? I knew I was after that episode. I was like, I know I'm good enough. It's just a matter of time when's the next show, what's my role. So
yeah,
still there.
Yeah, and like I said, hopefully we have some time to squeeze in. You're also in currently a movie that I think is either just released or going to be called Big Muddy, correct?
Yeah, I'm in a movie called Big Muddy. I shot that in 2016, actually. It's finally going to find distribution, is what I heard. It did some film festivals. It's a great movie. It's a drama. It's about two brothers that actually canoe from Kansas City to St. Louis on the Missouri River. And their mom just dies, and they take this trip that they did when they were kids with their dad, who's passed away when they were younger. And it was a very challenging movie to make because we were on the water in the middle of September, which was really hot, and it was a lot of work. You're in every scene, and it was a low budget movie. So it's not like you were just chilling in your AC trailer while you're waiting for the scene to get shot. You're helping out, you're in it. But the reason I wanted to do that movie was because it had this relationship with brothers, and it took place in Missouri. And I was just like, yes, this is cool. And I used to go on float trips when I was in Boy Scouts and all this. And I was just like, I want to make this movie. And it was like a month before my wedding. And it was like, babe, I'm leaving for Missouri for a month. I'll get my tux fitted. I don't know. We'll figure this out. But the last movie that I have that's the most recent that came out this summer was called Baby Splitters. And that movie is really, really funny. It stars Danny Pudi, who is exceptional. He's a star. So I think this might be one of his first starring roles, but it's a comedy about having kids. And what's crazy is it's about two couples sharing a kid. I played the gynecologist in it, which is right there is funny. But my wife and I had a baby the week that the movie came out. It was
nice.
Crazy. Yeah, it was really cool.
No, is that baby being split among another group, or
we're sharing custody? It's like, there's kids that are being raised in split homes with your mom and dad, and they're divorced. And why can't you just do it with couples? So that way you can have your freedom of having a single life, but also raising a kid, and it's kind of like you have half the responsibilities. And you share custody. And it sounds like a ridiculous idea until it starts working, and then it's like, this is a bad idea. It's Sam Friedlander wrote it and directed it, and he is awesome in it. He's great. He really delivered a funny movie.
So something I always wonder about, because as an actor, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you do a role really, really well, like you did with Zach, like you just like nail that role, people see you as that role because you just became that character. Is it hard to shake that and do something like Big Muddy where you're now being dramatic, or was that a goal to do a movie like that to shake off those who saw you last as Zach?
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, it's weird because like I think a lot of people will recognize me as Zach, and it's like it's like the multi-camera world. Act in those shows, people kind of feel like it's broad and it's a little big, which it kind of has to be because it's the way it's written and there's a live audience, and it's like it's bigger and it's not as grounded as some of these other new comedies, especially dramas, are. So they might see me as an actor that plays a little too big and broad. So that is a struggle. But then also, I did a guest star on The Neighborhood, which is a multi-camera show, and I'm working on United States of Al. And that in that world, it doesn't hurt me at all. I think people know that I can play other parts in that world, but I feel like it might. I think it might. People watch my reel, other casting directors that are casting something that's different. I think they're like, he does well for the big dumb guy. But yeah, that's why I love. Like, I tell my agents, get me in more dramas. So that's, and I'm also getting older now, so I feel like there are some more roles in the drama world for me. That's not like, you don't have to be this like soap star guy, to do it.
Well, it's kind of interesting that as an actor, you really do have to pilot a career. I mean, like my day job, I'm an English teacher. At my job, I go to school, I teach English, and maybe in 10 years, I'll still be teaching English and whatever. I mean, I don't really have to think too hard other than get a job in English. That's your job. As an actor, you really do have to pilot a career path. I'm going to do, some of these, like a comedy, then I focus on a drama, then I want to focus on this kind of, it must be a lot of strategy in what seems to an outsider as just a standard career, but it's such a strategic career, I guess.
I think being an actor, it's not the same. Yeah, you're not doing this. You don't know what, you're not doing the same stuff. It's different. Gosh, it's different for me still. I've been doing this for a long time, but I'm not at that place where it's like, I'm working on this show for 5 years, and I was, a series regular, and it was like a Zach role or something, and now I want to pivot and do this because I want to challenge myself, or I want to showcase that I can do more. I'm still like, get me in for everything. I'm going to audition, book. Sometimes I get offered parts, which is great, but I can't wait for the day where it's like, I want to do this next. This is what we're doing. That is the goal. Right now, I'm like, sweet, I'm working, what's next? And, it's crazy. People don't see that. People see, you're on TV all the time. You just must just be working all the time. And it's like, no, you know what? I put myself on tape 6 times this week for shows that some of them I were right for. Some of the roles I was like, they're going to find a guy that's like, I went in for like this bad guy fitness trainer guy. And I was like, they got that guy, I'm going to do a great audition and maybe make some fans with casting, and producers might watch the tape. Be like, I like him for maybe something different. So you always show up to your auditions. Back when they were in person, you show up prepared, you crush the audition, you leave, you make fans, and that's the plan. But because you never know, but a lot of the times you're going in for stuff that you're like, I wouldn't cast myself in this, especially out here. There's so many people. So yeah, I don't know where we're going there, but I do feel like.
Well, when you're doing a movie too, like Big Muddy, that was in your home state. Do you, how close was it to where you actually grew up?
We didn't get all the way up to St. Louis where I grew up. We did do a scene in St. Louis, but I think we shot in like Jeff City, and we kind of just cheated it like we were in St. Louis. So not too close, but I was, in Columbia where I've been in Columbia a lot of times. I have a brother that lives in Columbia still. So I was able to visit his family, and yeah, it was cool just to be home.
It's kind of fun. Like, I live in Rhode Island, so when something is in Rhode Island, everything is near me. So I just assuming it's in the same state. It's like, it's in my neighborhood. It's in Rhode Island. And I forget that Missouri is actually like a real state. That it actually has real.
Yeah, it takes 4 hours to drive across it, but I didn't get to go home. But the film was in the St. Louis Film Festival, and I got to go home. And guess what? I would say about a dozen of my fraternity brothers showed up.
Oh, that is awesome.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
It's funny that they literally, it's like a family, I guess. It never literally departs from each other.
Yeah. And some high school friends showed up. And I just think a lot of my friends from back home are pretty proud of me for sticking it out and pursuing this dream of mine. And I was popping up in commercials back when I first started doing this, and they were just like so pumped. And I was pumped that I was in a, Bud Light commercial and yeah.
Well, just to go back a little bit to The Big Bang Theory before you got to go, there was one episode that I thought was so awesome. There was the episode where Sheldon is trying to create a new social group, and he brings in Barry, John Ross Bowie as Barry Kripke. He brings in Stuart, Kevin Sussman, and then has you, and he brings in together, and then you, John Ross Bowie, and character, and Kevin Sussman's character, bond and become like a group. And I thought to myself, I really would love to have seen the Zach Stewart, Barry Kripke TV show.
Right? I think that's a great idea. Like these strong supporting cast members, these guest stars that the people got to know a little bit. I mean, especially Stewart. Gosh, Kevin Sussman's so funny. Anyway, I'll tell you what I was about to say, but yeah, that episode, I enjoyed that episode a lot. As an actor, I got to do a scene that wasn't with Penny, and I was like, okay, my character has moved on from being the ex-boyfriend. I'm now kind of part of the gang. I thought like, oh, I'm part of the gang here because I'm not with like all the other episodes. I'm with Penny, which is great because I'm the ex-boyfriend and that's my storyline. That's how I was introduced to the group. But this episode, I just get invited over to hang out, and it was so funny. And we had a lot of fun shooting that episode, doing karaoke and everything. But then I thought, as an actor, I was like, okay, this is great. I have moved past the ex-boyfriend and I'm just kind of a friend here. And that was in season 4, and they didn't use me season 5 or 6. And I was like,
bastards.
Shoot. I was like, Zach's gone. He's gone. And then the next episode that they brought me back for, out of the blue, I don't hear anything. They don't tell me. They were like, hey, well, Big Bang came calling. You got a pin in you for this episode in a couple weeks. So I was like, sweet. Then they booked me. I get the script, and we're married. It was a Thanksgiving episode, and we got to get the wedding annulled. And it was like, we thought we got married by Elvis. That was like fake, and it was like a real wedding. And I was like, oh man, thank you, writers, for being so creative. They wrote that episode to bring Zach back because they were like, we haven't had him in a couple seasons. Let's see what he's up to. And they brought me back, and that was awesome. And then they kept bringing me back.
It was amazing, especially because I like what the episode is that. Once again, they created Zach as a person. You know what I'm saying? He's not, he's not the idiot. He's not the asshole ex-boyfriend. He is someone who he actually shows that he says a line. Well, I'm trying to remember the exact line when he's talking to Leonard about Penny. He goes, "That's not how I think I want you talking to my wife." Something along those lines. That's what the guy wants to do with my wife. I'm like, that's the Leonard. I was like, he cares about Penny. Is it ex? But
I don't think I want. Hey, you're not the type of guy. Wait, I don't think you're the type of guy I want you talking to. Wait, I don't like the way you're talking to my ex-wife or something like that. Yeah, something like that. I wish I knew it.
It's a great scene. I mean, that episode. I mean, it's kind of fun. It's like I do feel like the Zach episodes are such my favorite episodes.
Thanks.
And the ones, and I think what I like the best is that later on, the last season, they bring in Zach, and Zach has had a good life. He's wealthy. He's married. I mean, they made him actually happy.
Yeah. I think that was pretty cool. They made him married and they made him rich, which was hilarious because they were like, wait, we're the geniuses and we're not rich, and this guy gets rich somehow, and they had to deal with that. Yeah, and at the very end there, I think wanting to have a kid and Leonard and Penny thinking about having kids, I think it was a good little storyline that they used.
And I think I really liked how Zach is always used as a way to reflect upon the nerds, as it were. I mean, the scene where they're trying to make that weapon for the government, or that I can't remember the type of device literally it is, but Zach's like, oh, isn't that something like the military could use? That could be used as a weapon, right? They're like, I don't know. He's like, you guys are you sure you guys are smart? And he walks out, like, yeah, like it's constantly like it's a way to reflect on just how, in many ways, dumb and normal the nerds are in comparison. You know what I'm saying? Because it's such a way to reflect off that.
Yeah, the writers did a good job with. Sometimes Zach has more common sense or says something that like that. You sure you guys are smart? Like, couldn't they use it? But yeah, I actually developed a Zach spinoff that I think is pretty genius, which is funny for Zach to say, but I put a lot of time into it, and I developed all the characters and the story and everything. And it's so you left Zach with rich and married and wanting to have a family, and he's not able to have kids. And so I thought it would be a great storyline to do Zach and his wife foster kids. I don't think the fostering kids is a topic that a lot of sitcoms are doing or even television are talking about. It would be kind of cool to make that the backdrop of the of the show is adoption, fostering kids, finding home for kids. And Zach is rich enough and happy enough and loves enough that he's not the smartest dad. And so when he's, he fosters several kids at a time. And I think that would be funny. You would get a diverse cast here and fostering these kids and his wisdom isn't the smartest, and maybe the kids are smarter than him.
Yeah.
But what gets him through each episode is his love for life and his love for these kids. And that kind of prevails. And I even thought like Kevin Sussman's Stuart. So Stuart could be like, I like him so much because I did have a lot of scenes with him that I hire him to be like my house help. So maybe even he lives in the house and he's kind of like the butler, the guy who like helps out. Maybe there's a little comic book store in the house. We have so many funny ideas for the show that it would be cool. And I tried to pitch it, but my managers and agents couldn't get it to Chuck Lorre because Chuck Lorre said no spinoffs, and his manager was like, no spinoffs, we're not interested. So they haven't even read my pitch.
Oh.
Which is a shame, but maybe, after a while, after the show's been done for a bit, they're open to the pitch for the Zach spinoff.
I mean, well, you're in the United States of Al. I mean, every time you show up on the set, just have your script. Just be like,
I have my little pitch for him. I mean, it's all ready to go. I have it. Like, I could just email you the pitch deck. It has pictures. It's everything.
Oh,
it's great.
I would love to look at it.
Yeah, it's pretty dope.
It sounds awesome. Like I said, Zach is one of those characters that you want more of because, like I said, he does feel not the first episode he appears in, but as it developed, he develops into something that feels real, and you feel that's someone that you would like to see on. You know what I'm saying? Like
totally.
your TV becomes like almost like your friends and someone you want to see every week. And Zach feels like that guy. And it sounds, and once again, definitely when you have Stuart as well, because like I said, I think this, with you, the chemistry between you, Stuart, and Barry was so awesome.
What's funny with Stuart and Zach's character, the dynamic is that Stuart is self-loathing and just depressed, and he's just like hates his life, and Zach like loves everything, and everything's cool. Like even like how much money he makes at the comic book store, he's like sweet, And then Kevin or Stuart's really dry too, So I think I would just miss all of his sarcastic jokes. It would be so funny.
I really think so. So I know you got to go. I just want to thank you so much for talking with me, and I would love to have you back on, especially to talk more about the United States of Al. So definitely let's set that up, and you need to tell me if you get that pitch to Chuck Lorre.
Yes.
You got to make it happen.
I got to make it happen because he's there when we're taping. I mean, he's there. I maybe if Freddie's around in season 2, we're going to give it to Chuck and see what's up. But thanks for having me on, Jeff. It was fun. And hit me up whenever, man. Maybe we could talk more about the United States of Al when that show is blowing up.
I would greatly appreciate that. Have a great night. Like I said, thank you for being so awesome. It was my honor to definitely meet you.
Cool, man. Take care, Jeff.
All right. Have a great night.
All right. See you.
Spaghetti! And we're back.
That's right. We are back. Back in the saddle again. Well, I hope you guys really, really enjoyed that as much as we did making it for you. And if you liked what you heard and you want to hear more, you got to go check out Spoilerverse.com, because at Spoilerverse.com, we have a plethora, amazing directors and artists of all walks of life, and editors and writers, and oh my God, are you a lover of comic books like we are? Then there's so many amazing people from the comic book world over at Spoilerverse.com, and I highly implore you to go there and check it out.
Yeah, and while you're there, you can check out all the other podcasts on our network, like Bridges and Geekdoms and Funny Book Forensics and Haphazard Adventures and Nerds from their Kitchen, and so many more.
Misery
we put out
Point Radio.
episodes all the time. Go check all of them out, and check out all of the reviews and previews and articles we have going up every single day for you, every day on Spoilerverse.com for you to check out and to read and to love and to like and to comment. We have a store link. You want to help support the site? You can do it 2 ways. One, go to our Patreon, which is patreon.com/spoilercountry, or go to our store link in the middle of the site there and get a t-shirt, a face mask, a hoodie, something, look fly as hell, and help support the site when you do that, because we get $1 or $2. And, maybe you want to talk to us. If you do, you can do it obviously on all the socials, but if you go to scpod.us/Discord, you can join our public Discord server and come chat with us all day long.
I couldn't say it better myself, dude.
There you go.
You just mouthed out a ton of information at once, and really, I hope you guys enjoy what you're hearing because we're working our butts off to bring it to you.
We are.
I guess there's only one left thing. One left thing? Yeah, I'm going to go with it. There's only one left thing left to do.
What's that?
In an oceans of podcasts,
We are Cthulhu.
as Cthulhu compels you to
Spaghetti. Open the mind.
and read more.
Spaghetti.
Do you listen to podcasts that sound like this? Hey, welcome back to the Super OK Podcast, where our audio sounds mediocre.
Or do you prefer podcasts that sound more like this? Crisp, clear, fun, easy to listen to, and full of awesomeness? Well, you should check out Spoiler Country, hosted exclusively over at spoilerverse.com.